So first of all, just thank you again for doing this. Appreciate you coming back for the second half of this.
I always like to update people. It's been a while.
Yeah. So for this one, I actually did get a handful of questions. Actually, a pretty decent amount. I'm gonna have to pull them up on my phone here since my computer's not working with me today. But figured I would kind of sprinkle those throughout. Since
Sounds
I
good.
feel like I asked a lot of like the common ones last time, and then of course you did the one with Chris
Yeah.
like right before it. So a lot of
Well,
overlap there.
most of them are always like the basic questions, so I feel like I'm sure there are people that have like more out there questions that we
Yeah. No, definitely. While I'm pulling it up though, I did pull up a couple more clips from your episode. This time I just kind of, instead of having the whole episode and kind of clicking around and trying to figure out where we're at, I sat down and actually watched the episode this time and pulled like 4 or 5 predators from the second part of the sting, just to see if anything jogs your memory and kind of do what we did last time. So I figured we'd open with the one that got the most mention, I think, in the our first part at least, and the person you dealt with first here, we got Rick's talented tongue. We'll open up with.
Well, yes, can never forget Rick's talented tongue.
So yeah, I'll pull up those questions here, Ed, while I do that.
Send the decoy out.
Then there's this man, 32-year-old Corey Edgar, nicknamed Rick.
Are you coming?
Edgar, using the screen name Rick's Talented Tongue, chatted online with a decoy who told him she was a 12-year-old girl. He tells her he's sending a picture of his penis. He asks if the girl has condoms and, in graphic terms, if he can perform oral sex on her. But in the middle of the chat, he suddenly becomes suspicious.
I have a strong feeling you're either undercover or a cop trying to settle the...
So they normally had like the same voiceover guy.
I was gonna say they did a good job with the accent and everything.
Yeah, he's one of the few where they like got somebody to do like an impersonation.
I always thought it was interesting that like the decoys, they never had us do the voiceovers. I was talking about that with my best friend. I was like, it's interesting. We were there. We totally could have done like the voiceover for the decoy and been ourselves,
Yeah, that would have made sense. And yeah, like you said, you're already there.
It always sounds like an adult that's trying to do like a really squeaky voice. Like you literally should have just utilized us in the in-between to get like the, B-roll type audio stuff.
Yeah, no, that would have been good actually. So his voice, I mean, did that stick out to you like immediately when he first talked to you?
That accent, and I spent so much time with him. I think he was the one I spent the most time with for sure.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, you definitely, I think, and we'll see it here, but he changes seats like 3 times. What's that?
They cut a lot of it because we were outside for a long time.
Oh, he didn't want to come in right away?
No.
Okay. All right. Yeah, you don't see that at all in the clip.
Yeah, it's quick.
How long was he one of those guys that kind of sat in his car?
No, he just like stand out front for a minute, like kind of like pace back and forth sort of thing. And then it was like, okay, let's get a move on.
Yeah, that's almost more creepy and like awkward to just like stand outside the home. Like, you don't want to draw attention to yourself, man.
Eventually, I think I got bored. I was like, okay, we got to move. Like, this one's getting old. Like, I'm just going to go in now.
Right. Is this the one? This is the one you said your famous line to, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's the only thing I could think of because I was like, okay, what? I don't know how else to, like, he obviously wanted to come in. Based off the conversation, it was like he was all in. So I'm like, you're a creep, obviously, and you want to come in, you just don't want to get caught, which is almost more infuriating because, like, I don't want to bait you in if you don't really want to come in and you're like questioning that what you're doing is morally wrong. But right. I knew he, like, it wasn't about whether it was morally wrong or not. He was just afraid of getting caught. Like, he mentioned the undercover cop thing multiple times. So he obviously was like suspicious.
Right. Yeah. It's one of those, like, he didn't have that, oh, this is wrong. Like, she's just a young girl. It's, I could go to jail for a long time and just looking out for himself.
I was not dating him in that long if it was like, he is obviously having a moral dilemma. It was not, he was like, I just do not want to get caught.
Yeah, yeah.
the guys up. You hear about it all the time.
You're insane.
Andy makes this declaration.
I would never meet a female under 18 to do anything sexual. I am reporting you to Yahoo.
Yeah, so like says those lines, which, you know, I don't think gets you out of trouble, but whatever.
Yeah, I
But
think
yeah.
that's what it is. Was like it was his way of being like, "Oh, I'm telling you no, and you're not listening."
Right, right. And this might have worked for him if he didn't, you know, show up to the house.
Yeah,
And
I
they
don't
tried
know. I don't remember that chat log, but I want to know what happened after that. Like how he came back into the conversation and then ended up at the house.
Yeah, I don't know if they say
Please
that.
leave
on
me
here.
alone.
Is he just
No, I guess
testing the
not.
waters to protect himself? Whatever his intent, Edgar doesn't leave the decoy alone and keeps chatting. Just to be sure the girl is real, he says he wants to talk to her on the phone. Perverted justice.
I mean, there would be a lot that would do that. Oh, that's a good shot there. Do you remember that headset at all? How was that?
Baby version of me. Oh my gosh. I have that screenshot picture of myself on Facebook somewhere.
Oh, that's so funny. So that headset, I'm assuming like everybody's kind of just passing that along. They're doing the calls. Are they,
Yeah,
they're
that
doing
was
the calls on
after COVID and all that. I don't think they do this anymore.
No, probably not. Oh, I guess that's an interesting question. Anybody get like sick? Was any like flu or anything going around from having so many weird people in the house?
Not that I remember. I don't think anybody went through like anything weird other than having a birthday. Like
Yeah.
one of them we celebrated their birthday, but other than that, no, which was nice. I'm glad nobody was sick. I don't know. We were all older though, so I feel like when you're not working with like kids, it's less.
Right.
But we all were like in close, tight spaces, so I wouldn't have been surprised if one of us got sick.
Yeah, I know like every time I start like a new job or something, it's like that first week, all those new people, and then it's almost guaranteed the second week. I'm like,
starting daycare. When
yeah,
you put
yeah,
daycare, you're catching all the new germs.
yep, exactly.
Obliges and puts the decoy on the line with him.
How was talking to them on the phone? What was that experience like?
Honestly, I didn't know what I was doing at all. Like I remember them giving me a headset and like I had just gotten back from like doing one, like that was at the house. And then they like threw the headset at me and they're like, talk to him now. Like it was like he had called or something and I wasn't in there yet. And then they like threw it on me and I'm like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, I'm talking.
Oh my gosh. So you don't know who you're talking to.
Well, I
What?
didn't really know what was happening at this point. I just went with it.
Oh, that's so scary. You handled it well, it looks like though.
I was just doing my job.
Yeah.
But he's here. My parents are gone.
In the end, he decides to come, but he's still not convinced.
Yeah, he's so hesitant to come in.
We lingered outside that house for at least 20 minutes. It might have even been longer. Like it was a long time I remember standing right by the door, being like just talking to him and him asking if I'm a cop over and over, or like if there's a cop inside. And I'm like, buddy, like why do you even ask this? I don't understand why they ask this. Like I'm gonna just straight up tell you, oh yeah, actually when you walk in that door, there's a cop, so come on.
Right.
Like, it doesn't make sense. Like why they ask over and over, like you're gonna tell them the truth.
Yeah, and you figure like if you're a cop at this point, you're probably just going to arrest them. Like I don't know what the point of going into the house.
It was funny. As soon as I did the like you know what every man loves, when you're like take it away and it's not yours anymore, then they come after you. Like when I'm like he's like, all right, I'm in.
Yeah, and then he comes into the house, doesn't he? Is he one of the ones that asks for a tour, right?
Yes, he goes, oh, can I see? And like looks in every crevice, and I'm like, oh my gosh, don't look behind the curtain, don't look behind the curtain.
Not too much. I was just talking online.
Talking online?
Yeah. You walk around. Come in. Where are you going?
Just trying not to think about this.
For the next few minutes, Edgar can't decide whether he wants to stay or go. Finally, he comes in.
Whatever.
But spots
Yeah,
our...
you could hear your yep, whatever, and just walk away.
Over it. I remember Brad was like, this is taking too long and we need to move along because we have other people. You know what I mean? We have like other predators that are coming. Like there's allotted times essentially, and this one is just taking too long.
Camera crew in the next room.
See,
You are a suspicious guy, Rick.
I told you there's people here.
I want to speak with you for a minute. Why don't you have a seat right over there?
I wasn't planning on any of this.
Good. I want to hear the whole story. So
And
come
just once again, shout out to the guy that did his voiceover. Spot on.
It's so
over
funny
here.
because he's so cocky. Like
Right.
it almost is like most obnoxious, and I think it actually really did annoy me, and that's why like I did sound annoyed. I don't think it was like an act. Like it was obnoxious because he was so cocky, and you knew he did all of these things, and you saw all of his graphic pictures and stuff, and then he's all acting like, oh, see, I told you that I was gonna get trapped into this, but like. No, buddy, you were all in. Like you just didn't want caught.
Yeah, exactly. You weren't pacing around, not entering. You know, he says try not to think about this. Like it's not like you said earlier. Him, you know, his consciousness awakening, and he's like, "This is wrong." He's just so nervous. And then yeah, his cockiness. He's gonna say it here in a moment, but he's gonna blame the decoy. You know, he's gonna say she keeps messaging me.
Yeah, it's with somebody else. I swear, with like these ones, it's just so frustrating because I'm like, the only hesitance was getting caught.
Yeah.
And you already went in the house, so you're already screwed. So you might as well just walk in the house because you walked on the property, so the charge is there regardless, you know?
Right. Yeah, and you're already, you know, talking to Chris. You're already caught. You know, admitting and owning up to it's not going to really mean much, but at least it's like something. It's a step in the right direction. So
It's
like
literally
continue.
once they step on the property, that's a different charge. Once
Right.
when they step on property, that's a charge. So even if his pacing back and forth and going in and out of the house, it doesn't matter because he already stepped on the driveway.
Right. But he's going to think he can talk himself out of it anyway and just be frustrating to view.
and have a seat. You can tell me all about it.
Jeez, I might as well my life's over. My life's over.
Rick, now I've got some transcripts here of your conversation with this girl.
I did not want this to happen. I didn't do anything.
Please have a seat on the stool. Relax. Calm down for a minute. All right, let's clear the air because
I've never
conversation.
done
Well, let me read
like
to you the
this.
first line out of your mouth. Hello, how are you doing? Can I tease and please your blank with my tongue and make you blank over and over? Right after that, she tells you that she's 12.
And then I said, you're a little too young. Please.
Right. You say, I never knew a young female like yourself would like that. And then you show
You're
some
arresting me
reservations.
and everything.
I'm not arresting you.
They are.
Though he doesn't see them, Edgar seems to know the police are outside. And that shouldn't be a surprise. Remember that Edgar sent this picture of what he said was his penis.
So that's another charge for him. And like, so yeah, he has all this. I mean, the man he's talking to, he doesn't know who Chris is, but he has the full chat log and he's still going to make excuses, try to blame, you know, the decoy, blame perverted justice, blame whoever.
Well, and not everybody knows, but like by the time they get to the house, every single one of these men has sent graphic pictures of their house. Like that's part of it. They don't even get to the men coming to the house part until there's another like decent charge on them for them to come to the house, because or else there's essentially not much to go off of. Like they've sent pictures, they've talked dirty, they've sent porn, like multiple things before they ever even get to the point of coming to the house.
Yeah. I know they had a handful who ended up not even showing up, but they still had enough against them to send, you know, officers, to get them arrested. All right, so let's just to keep YouTube happy, I want to get his arrest real quick. Play YouTube's game.
Get on your knees. Put your hands on your head.
All right, so yeah, he gets arrested. Let's before we get to the next one, let me pull up some of these questions here. We do have a good amount, and just thanks to everybody who did ask these. Appreciate everybody. So in no particular order, and we might have covered a little bit of this, but we'll just go over it again here real quick. So one of the first questions was, what was it like in between pred catches? How did you and PJ pass time between stings? Love your work, Dani. Definitely one of the most entertaining decoys.
Okay, so it depended on how much time we had. So sometimes it was work and we went over like the full chat logs of like usually the ones we already caught, so like we could have the understanding of how dangerous these guys are, because I think especially with me, they felt like, okay, this girl is like naive as heck and doesn't realize the danger she's in because she's letting them all like hug me and, you know, all that stuff. They're
Right.
like, she needs to see that it's bad, you know, but also to like fully understand what we're doing. So a lot of times we were going through like full chat logs and being like, this is how serious it is. This is how bad it is. Other times we were answering the phones and doing the phone call thing. And then other times we were literally just keeping it lighthearted and screwing around. And I think it was a must to kind of like make light of certain things and like even what we were doing, just because you can get so caught up in the stress and like realizing you're in danger essentially doing this job. And if you get caught up in that, then you could essentially blow it all just by fear. And so I think they really tried hard to like keep it so we always felt like, haha, make it light, keep things cool, and then we're sending you out, you know, sort of thing. So we were like, had a moment to decompress, you know. So we would all and hang out and just like make fun of things and, like I said, celebrated a birthday and things like that, just to keep it light and fun in between.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's almost that like police officer, you know, emergency room nurse, you know, you have to keep it light, but it's a very serious
Even
situation.
surgeons, like they talk while they're doing surgery. Like you have to kind of keep things light so you don't let stress overcome you.
Right, right. I have another one here that's kind of related to what we just watched. We kind of already answered it, but I'll ask it for clarity here. How long did Corey Edgar, Rick's talented tongue, sit in the chair? Did you laugh as hard as I did when you first heard him speak?
Okay, so I don't know about the chair, but I just know the amount of time I spent outside with him was insane. Like it felt like forever. I can hands down tell you that he was the predator I spent the most time with times 10. He was in and out, pacing, wouldn't even go in the door for a while. Frag is like, we got to move along. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm kind of bored with him now too. Like, move this along. So outside, it was like a good 20 minutes at least. I potentially could have been longer than that. It felt longer than that. But then inside, he did the same thing. He toured and paced, and like even with Chris Hansen, you see him come in and he's still pacing in and out of different areas of the house, like making himself comfortable. I don't know how long he sat in the chair, but I just remember he definitely was like touring everything.
Right.
He's like a pacer all over the place, like bouncing around.
The same person also had a part, like a second part to the question. Was there anyone that you didn't want to interact with? Like anybody, maybe they read the chat log before they showed up and you're like, I don't know if I want to deal with this guy, or maybe once you saw them.
So I don't know that there was any that I was like against. I mean, you don't really get a choice. It's a job. Like,
Right,
you
right.
need to be like, I'm out on this one. You go find yourself another dude. So like, I never thought of it like that. But the guy in the park, was hands down the scariest for me. Where I was in the ugly, horrible wig that was just terrible. I finally found a picture of it like last week and was like, I can't even post this. It's horrific. It's
Oh
horrific.
my gosh.
But at the park, because he came in a rented car, like I knew where the police unmarked cars were, and I knew where perverted justice was. But the plan was to tell me when his car pulled up, except for that he pulled up in a different car, in a rental car. And so then I was taken completely off guard, and he came up from like totally different spot. And then they're yelling in my ear, oh my gosh, he's coming towards you. He's coming towards you. That was probably one where I was like, oh geez, like I'm out now. Like, just kidding. We're done here. But like he was already there. But the things he said were scary, because I'm dead convinced that if it was a 14-year-old that or 13, whatever he was going for, was somebody got in the car and it wasn't a decoy, I don't think they ever would have come back. Like, he was in a rental car, he had an MP3 player, he talked about running away with her. Like, he was gonna cross state lines, and it was gonna be not good.
Yeah, it's funny is the wrong word. It's not funny. But it's I guess odd to me that Frank Sierras is probably one of the most dangerous predators that was ever featured on the show, and he doesn't really get talked about or referenced very often.
I felt by far like none of them really scared me all that much except for him, because I could totally see through the chat logs and through like his demeanor and the things he brought that he was legitimately going to run away with a child. And
Yeah.
like, I don't know where he's at now, and I've really been curious about up and keep forgetting to do it, but I would not be surprised if he's done things since then. I'd be totally surprised if he's out of trouble.
Unfortunately, I'm not aware of anything either, so I'll have to look into that too, because it's a good point. Yeah, of all the ones that may or may not be running around out there still, he's definitely one of the ones that we should be keeping a closer eye on.
Yeah, I don't know. He's one that will stick out to me, and also because it was a different environment. I wasn't like in a far away from me, so that was probably the least protected situation I was in. Like, if he pulled out a gun and shot me, nobody would be able to do anything,
Right.
you know, so far away. But you know, that was part of the job, and I signed for it. So
that was probably the most unique setup they ever had, as far as I remember. They never traveled. Do you know how far that park was from the actual sting location?
It wasn't far. I want to say it was like 5-10 minutes. In fact, I went to that park after with my now ex-husband. Like, we visited the park, and it wasn't on purpose. Like, we had gone there because he lived in Long Beach, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is the park that we did the sting in. I was like, right there. I was like, that was the blonde wig and all that. And he was like, oh, that's so weird.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. I did pull that up here real quick. If maybe we can play a couple seconds of that.
Relatives in Long Beach, Sierras offers to drive down and give her a ride back home.
Yeah, we could even go to Disneyland or Magic Mountain.
Wow.
Back in 2004, before Dateline was working with Perverted Justice, Sierras, using the screen name Pitbull David 2001, chatted online with a...
Right, that's the other thing, is he had been caught doing this before too, so he's definitely...
Well, and he's using a picture like 10,000 years old, because he looked nothing like that.
Decoy, who said she was 13. He sent the decoy pictures of his penis and told her,
I want to make love to you. I know I will say I love you when I'm making love to you.
Back then, Perverted Justice put his chat on its website, but Sierras was never charged with any crime. Then, 2 years later, during Dateline's investigation in Petaluma, California, Sierras began... They agreed to a meeting in the park, and now our decoy is waiting for Sierras to arrive.
Are we copying this, everybody?
He spots me and runs.
He's running.
So, oh, hold on. We didn't get a great look. Yeah, okay. So that's probably the best look we're going to get there. But yeah, so they got the blonde wig. It looks like some type of hat to try to hide it.
Like a bandana situation to cover how bad the wig was.
Did wearing the wig make you more, I don't know, self-conscious or nervous that like they're going to...
Oh, 100%. I'm like, I don't care how dumb they are. Like, they could have all the mental health issues, and they're going to be able to see that I am not really a blonde, and it's a wig.
And then, yeah, we'll see during the arrest here. I believe they search his car. Yeah, so the rented car, like you said.
They also find that pink MP4 player Sierra said he was bringing for the girl.
Oh, maybe a little gift? Yeah, maybe a little gift.
And he was apparently in a hurry to get...
That's right, yeah. He got a speeding ticket on the way, too, so...
That's crazy. I just remember that he had been caught more than one time.
Yeah, I guess that was back when, Perverted Justice would send all the information to the police. They would send it to, like, their jobs and their families, but they really didn't have much power past that. And, yeah, unfortunately, he was one that kind of slipped through the cracks there, but... I don't know if I want to say luckily, but at least, when he did get caught doing it again, yeah, it was on your sting. All right, I'm pulling up another question here. Let's see. This is a good one. What are your thoughts on the To Catch a Predator community? You must see the comments and jokes. Do you understand the fascination, or do you think it's kind of a weird hobby?
Oh gosh, this is such a loaded question. Well, for one, I need to put it out there, and I think this is like the most hilarious thing ever. I've been trying so hard to like be able to interact with like my Reddit fans, because for years I would just watch the talks and stuff, hear all about myself, never put my input, but kind of like I'm like, okay, these people are talking about me and I'm right here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
Really, I was like, once the documentary came out, I was like, maybe I should figure out Reddit and like actually like start interacting and do an AMA and stuff, you know? I tried very hard, people. So first I made an account, and then they shadow banned me for impersonating myself. I kid you not. I got shadow banned for impersonating myself. For some reason, they did not believe I was me. And people step in, moderators, and they were like, okay, we know it's you now. Just make a new username, then post your AMA, right? Before I ever even got to the point of posting an AMA and making a new username, I was suspended again for impersonating myself. So I don't want to give up. I'm trying to interact with everybody, but it's not the easiest thing apparently to be able to talk to my Reddit fans. Like, I kid you not, I've never in my life, like, I sent my driver's license to prove that point where I'm like, what else do you need? Blood? I have lots of blood work too. Like, this is not. Yes, I do find some things weird. I definitely, when I'm like when people talk about my face, or like, you know, like what I look like, or especially when they're like, oh, she should get into child porn and like, you know, that sort of thing. And like, I have kids. I live in the Bible Belt and I am a Christian. I shall not be like joining OnlyFans or something crazy. Like, that will not be happening. But like, I see the fascination to a point, maybe not to the level of like most of the Reddit fans, and how like they know every detail, which is like mind blowing. I'm like, there are things about me that I'm like, I don't think I've told anybody that, and I have no idea how they figured that out, but they know it. I'm like, that's just wild. Like, it's wild. I have no idea. I'm like, somehow these people know more about me than I know about me. But no, I think it's cool and it's fun. And I really am trying to interact with everybody. Maybe not so many of the weirdos, but like fans of like To Catch a Predator and everything, because I do get the fascination and I do get having questions. But it may never happen if I keep getting shadow banned for impersonating myself. And what's funny is I don't have like the common look. So I'm not, like, it's not like I'm like the average white girl, like, like, you know what I mean? I'm like 4'10" and I'm half Asian. Like, not too many people look like me. And then they think I'm impersonating myself. I don't know. I'm like, I don't know.
If anybody knows who runs the To Catch a Predator Reddit, or Hansen versus Predator Reddit, whatever the popular ones are, show them this. Yeah.
I'm trying.
Yeah. Another question we have here for you. Was there one predator, and you might not remember their names, but maybe you can kind of describe them. Was there one predator that when you look back on them, they grossed you out the most? And it might have been Frank. You know, we kind of talked about that already, but
I would go Frank, or I would say, why am I blanking on his name? The one with the head injury. That was
Michael Seibert.
Yes, yes. I don't know why I blanked, because I totally know who he is. He was a different level of like, he was a hard read, and because he was mentally unstable, I feel like he also made me a little bit uneasy. Like, I don't know how to approach this one in the same way, because they were so on top of me in my ear, like, you cannot let this man close. He's dangerous. And then he walks in and he just looks like this kind of like puny, geeky-ish, like not all with it guy. And that's not what I expected from them like he's so insanely dangerous and like do not let him near you. I'm like, of all the predators, like he doesn't look like he could harm me. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it was a very like uneasy thing because they were so like, you cannot let him hug you. They're under no circumstances that like you have to follow this rule on this one, you know?
Right.
So I knew that there was like something real and legitimate, and they kind of explained it to me, but they don't have time to tell you everything. So I just kind of had to take their word for it, and them being like, this is serious, you know?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That actually was kind of another question somebody had asked, but you covered it perfectly because they were curious. Did you realize Mike was cyber? Was this dangerous from first glance, or did you have to realize after talking to him? But I think from the
Well, yeah, I
footage,
mean, they told me.
yeah,
They told me. But like honestly, if they had not told me that and I just saw him, it wouldn't have been in my head that he was one of the more dangerous predators by any means.
right,
I would feel like he's obviously has like some sort of mental disability. Like that was
yeah,
obvious, you know?
yeah, no, exactly. All right, let's do one more here, and then maybe we'll pull up some.
Also, my kids, oh my gosh, one of them has a new habit of saying oopsie.
Oh
And
no.
every single time. And I'm like, you cannot use that. You need to stop. My daughter, oopsie. And I'm like, no, no, we don't use that word. That word, no.
Uh,
It's like
that's
triggering, like Pete. No, we're not doing that.
oh my gosh, that's so funny. Yeah, I guess.
He's caught. And I'm like, oh my gosh, my daughter, every single time that she, like, you point out she didn't do her chores, I mean, she was oopsie. And I'm like, no. I'm like, I swear it's like PTSD. I'm like, I don't want to hear that word.
Are there like a handful of phrases like that that you just kind of remember from the show that when you hear them, you're like, oh my gosh, no, and it like, takes you back a little bit? Or is it mostly just like, oops?
It's the oops that gets me. Like every time he said it, and like they show clips of it, and he's like, oops, when he knows he's caught. Like he
Yep.
knew it was wrong, and shoot, I'm caught again.
Let's see. I just saw it. Well, there it is. Another question for you. What was Chris Hansen like to work with? Does he have a different off-screen personality?
So I mean, I think I've said this before a little bit, but we didn't get a whole lot of time together on the set of To Catch a Predator. Like when we were off doing our thing, he was like, he's a hard worker. He was out there doing his research and like remembering what he's gonna say and stuff like that. And he almost like kept more to himself in his own space away from us. And not because he was better than us, but because he was legitimately doing his job. And like, this is what I have to do in prepping himself. So we didn't get a whole lot of time off camera to talk a lot. I can tell you like since, and we both were in the documentary, and then like I went on to do his podcast. Before the podcast, we got to talk a good couple hours, and like he's a cool guy. Like I always thought he was a cool guy, and I know everybody has their things that they're gonna say are controversial, and he did his own bad things. We all make mistakes. But like I would say overall, like he has a good heart and he's doing things for a good reason. And I get him. Like,
oh no, yeah, absolutely.
Doing this kind of thing unless you have a passion for it. Like he's doing it, and it started with the Cambodia thing where he did a sting in Cambodia and busted this man who was like taking these kids and using them for sex and giving them money for sex and stuff. And he went all the way to Cambodia, caught this guy. Like really, that's what started it all. And I can completely understand that. I had a similar situation why I started photography. Like had a horrible thing happen, and it gave me a purpose on why I wanted to do more. And so I get him and his passion. And it's like everybody can say, well, he's doing this to make money. Like it's his career. Cause he's so far in the game. He doesn't need doing this anymore. He could do anything really.
Right. No,
like,
absolutely.
And make tons of money. He's Chris Hansen.
Yeah. He could release his memoirs and go sail off into the sunset. Yeah, no, I would argue
he's worth enough just being himself. Like no, he's legitimately a good guy, and I think highly of him for sure.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, not that people weren't aware. I mean, stranger danger has been taught forever and all that, but the internet, sexual predator really, I don't think was as mainstreamly known until Chris Hansen did it. And then you see all these people. There are so many people who get busted now that are, caught in stings that Chris isn't even involved in. And they're, where's Chris Hansen? They're asking where Chris Hansen is. That he's kind of the household name for it because of, all his successful work for 20 plus years.
About it, like there is the controversy of To Catch a Predator and
Right.
what maybe the couple. There are a couple of controversial ones. They actually touched on them in the documentary. I think there's like 2 in specific that were super controversial. And when you look at it, it's so funny that those 2 are painted as such major things, which I get, like anybody's lives matter. I totally understand that. But when you're talking about the amount of children that this has saved, what did they say? It was for every predator caught, it saves like 14 children or something.
Wow.
It was like a really high number. And so if you think about that, and Perverted Justice having caught 660 something, correct me if I'm wrong, and Chris Hansen being a part of his own, and he's got his own numbers, that is a lot of predators and a lot of children saved. So the two controversial, maybe 3 situations, I'd have to say that the positive outweighs the negative by far.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. No, I agree 100%.
Hands down, everything's going to have a negative. There's going to be a negative effect, or
well, if you're
go wrong somewhere.
If you're doing things on the scale that that show is doing, there's going to be those situations. But I mean, that's inevitable. But it's very hard to argue that there wasn't a very positive outcome from all of his shows. And I'm glad you mentioned Perverted Justice too, because they were doing it long before any of this stuff, and they were really on top of it.
They
as
don't
well.
get enough credit too. I definitely don't think. I mean, Chris Hansen, and he is worthy of getting a lot of credit, but I think that Perverted Justice doesn't get enough credit for how much work they did. They did a lot.
Exactly. I found another one here I want to ask real quick, just to kind of lighten the mood a little bit. As disturbing and criminal as the situation was, did anything humorous or comical stick with you? And they also want to know, can we get the punch recipe?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so humorous or funny? Gosh, I don't know if I could name one thing, but I just remember me and Dan Schrack like going back and forth, being like, who's gonna get the predator to come in naked?
Right.
The whole joke was like, which one of us is gonna get them to take their clothes off and walk in naked? It never happened for us, not on that sting, but it did on other stings. So that was the running joke. Were we really like super trying? No, but it made it fun and lighthearted, and like who could get Chris Hansen the better interview. It was like a competition.
I'll disagree for just a second. I think Dan was trying a little bit because
he probably tried harder than I did. To be fair, he didn't have as many chances. He only had like 2 on the episode, and I had like 30 something. You know what I mean?
Right.
So he had to go in hard because he only had chances to like really get that to happen.
Yeah.
And then I stole one of his because they sent me out for one of his. So he even lost one of his during our stage.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I remember that.
He didn't have very many as it was, and then they sent me out and stole one of his.
Yeah, what was that? So did he show up kind of they weren't expecting him at that time? They just kind of got the...
You know what went wrong? I think that they just like mixed up who was with what chat and coming at the time, and they just assumed because most of them were for me that it would be for me, and it got me out, and then it was the wrong call, and I was like, what is going on? I connect what was happening. I'm like, in my head it was funny. I didn't think for a second, oh, he wants Dan, like, oh, maybe I could go grab Dan, like no, like that at all. I was like, a dude literally just came to the wrong house looking for a guy. I don't know. Like, it's so dumb that I wouldn't have connected that, but I had no idea what was going on.
Yeah, that could definitely happen. They had moments in other stings where I think like the neighbors were like not aware what was going on and just saw a bunch of people showing up to the house. So they came over to check on things, and Chris, or probably not Chris, but somebody had to explain to them like, no, it's fine, it's a sting.
It's fine. Don't worry about it. There's just a bunch of predators coming.
Probably best you don't know.
Just don't come outside. It's fine. Keep your kids in for a couple days.
Exactly.
I think about that though, that is kind of terrifying. Like, I guess if I were having a sting in my neighborhood, I'd want to know, at least to know not to have my kids like out while the predators are coming to doors. You know what I mean?
That's like a weird gray area because you know you never know if the neighbor might be one of the preds who shows up, so you don't want to maybe let them.
We have one literally like that we just found out about like a half a year ago or something that lives in the cul-de-sac next to us.
Oh, no kidding.
It's super scary because I've had to be like, this is what he looks like. Do not, if he pulls up in this car, do not talk to him. If he follows you, you run your butt to one of the houses. Like you run in a truck somewhere where he can't drive if he's in his car, or like do not, you know what I mean? Like be as loud as you can. It was one of those conversations because do kind of keep an eye out on those things. And actually one of our neighbors is a sheriff, so he keeps us up to date on things like that, which is super nice.
Yeah.
But I'm that way where like if there were a sting, I think I'd have to keep my kids in just so they weren't like an accidental casualty. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No,
back in there, all the kids play, like it's a breeding ground for that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's one of those kind of like you want to know, but then you find out, and then you're just thinking about it all the time now.
Yeah.
You look at that like family watchdog, and you're like, it can't be that bad, and then you see, you know, depending where you live,
because we like literally live off the trail to our kids' schools.
Mm-hmm.
So it is so close that like we're almost within the boundary where like a sex offender can't live that close.
Right.
But like right at the like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Where it's iffy. But that does make it a little nicer because we're like, okay, we can't have as many like right in this spot, but they could be in this part of the neighborhood, you know?
Right. At least that makes it a little bit easier to be like, all right, don't play on these streets. You know, you can play over here, don't go over there.
Well, my kids all have like GPS trackers. I'm like, here's a gab watch because I need to be able to see your location, and then it tells me your child has left the boundary. I'm like, yeah, because they're at their dad's house now, so it's okay.
Right. Yeah. And that's kind of a nice thing that with technology nowadays that, you know, we didn't have back in 2005, 2006, 2007 when these stings were going on was, you know, you can track a smartphone now, you can track a watch.
Good and a bad thing, a blessing and a curse. Because that's how we get people from all over the world a lot easier. It's one of those blessing and a curse.
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to pull up this predator real quick because I know you have a story about him, and it kind of relates to a question. Yes. So somebody asked, and this isn't quite what happened in the question, but somebody in the question asked, did any of the predators try to reach out to you after they were arrested? Now,
so gosh, this is a hard one because I can't tell you for sure. I can tell you that I've gotten some creepy messages. Like, here, let's see. I might get the best friend to go search this up for me. Instagram. I had a creepy message, and I remember putting it out there on Facebook, and like it was super inappropriate. And I do wonder if it was one of the predators. See if you can find it. I don't know for sure if it was one of the predators, if it was like just a weirdo guy that liked the show and was a fan, but he like talked about rape and stuff with me. And I was like, okay, like this is no longer a game. Like this is not cool. Like it was bad. And I've had it a couple times where like, especially Instagram, I'll get the weird message request and then the message goes too far and it's sexual and it's about to catch a predator. And I'm like, yeah, no, you're blocked.
Yeah. Wow.
Most of the time, I don't like to live in fear, regardless of like what I know or what I've been through. And I've been through a lot of trauma, even just, I mean, I don't consider To Catch a Predator a trauma by any means. But like I've been in my own trauma and had my own trauma in the last, 37 years of my life. But even knowing what I know from To Catch a Predator, like I don't live in fear. My kids have freedom, but I am cautious and watch everything they do. But I can't lock them in a basement and keep them safe forever either, because they have to learn how to like actually be safe in the real world. My oldest just went to New York with his honors theater group, and that was like him sending off my baby. He's about to be 13 and he's going to New York without me, spring break. But it was super cool and he had an awesome experience. But it was the same thing, just trusting like I've raised him well enough, like they can do this. I mean, he went to space camp by himself, and I had to fly by himself from Chicago to Alabama because we were visiting Chicago, and he was doing space camp, so flew him off by himself. But it literally is. It's like just trusting that you raised them well enough to.
Yeah, I would think if any kids have been raised to kind of see the red flags, right, it's probably the children that have a grandparents who were cops or worked in that field.
Their whole family, all cops.
Yep.
Mine, all cops. Like, and that's the thing. I'm not afraid to talk to them. I will talk to them about anything and everything, like in an age appropriate way.
Right.
That like we have had full conversation about all the things, especially my oldest. My oldest, like, I wouldn't say he knows too much, but like he's not afraid to talk to me about like what sex is or what's happening with his body, like any of that. He's very open because I'm like very open book with him. Like, this is what it is. This is how you behave. So did you remember that? So I did. And May of 2011, I wrote on Facebook, reality check today. One of the guys I caught on To Catch a Predator tried to add me on Facebook, deleting a bunch of people on my page that I'm not close friends with. Creepy.
Wow. Do you remember who the predator was?
I don't. I didn't like. And then I have some other weirdo guy that you do To Catch a Predator. 2009. Oh, interesting. So I don't know what happened here, but I had written, and I don't remember this. See, this is like all jogging my memory, making me look at this stuff. But I had written, oh my gosh, a dude we caught on To Catch a Predator is on this episode of Disappeared as someone who committed a murder on an underage girl.
Oh, what?
So we need to look this up because I don't remember this, but I wrote this. It's coming from my mouth. I don't remember it though.
Yeah, that's news to me. I'm gonna have to look into that too. That I would very much like to see that. I'm very curious now.
Now I'm like, which one was it? That's so interesting. I don't remember that. But yeah, it's here we go. This was the one. You found it. The guy goes, and I'm not sure to this day if he was a predator or not. Because his screen name or whatever, his username on Instagram is ISIFGBX. So I mean, like, it's very coded. It says, you were gorgeous on it. You're a total whore for having 5 kids at 21 or however old you are. And then I said, I don't even know why I answered. I said 31 with my husband. And he was like, doesn't matter. I'm like, thanks for the compliment, though. 21 was a great year. And I mean, you were so hot on the show. I'm 37 myself. I'm like, thanks. I like to think I'm a MILF now. So I like messing around with like, I probably shouldn't, but I'll screw around. And he's like, I don't know what you look like now, but you were amazing on the show.
Oh, it's so weird.
Were you genuinely attracted to any of the predators? And I said, no. Only one man in my life ever, and that would be my husband. And then he said, he's lucky to F such a hot half Asian whore like you.
Oh.
You look Filipina, but hot, so you're obviously not Filipina.
Oh my God.
Because they're ugly as shit. And I'm Japanese, Hawaiian, and white. And he goes, yeah, there you go. That's why you're so hot. You were for sure the hottest decoy, no contest. I mean, most of them were hot, but you were the hottest. Were you ever raped? Or is that inappropriate to ask?
Jesus.
Yeah.
And I assume that was like blocked pretty shortly after.
I was like, we're done now. Like at first
Yeah.
I was messing around and like, you know, you're weird. But then it became like that. And I was like, yeah, we're not doing this anymore.
Yeah, wow, that's insane.
Yes. To answer the question, I obviously get weirdos. And I've even had friends that like have sent me like emails and asked me for like fan mail. I got a call from somebody one time that asked me to send like a signed autographed headshot sort of thing. And so yeah, it's definitely weird sometimes. I definitely feel like once Predators has like a legit release to the world, that I'm gonna have to be ready for all of that again.
Yeah, probably, unfortunately.
I told my kids, I'm like, you're gonna be on lockdown for a little bit once that real release outside of Sundance, you know?
Oh man, it's a shame with like the anonymity of the internet too. That like, yeah, it could be anybody sending these. You never know. And
I thought, I'm like, that very well could have been one of the predators I caught, or you don't know, you have no idea.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
It's a bunch of videos, and then you know, some of the extreme fans are predators themselves. So
no, they are. Yeah, exactly. But outside of like the man bun guy here, never any like face to face or in real life.
No, he was the only one. He was definitely like definitive. He was one you can't miss. Like I knew when I saw him right away. I was like, oh, we gotta go now.
And was that in Long Beach?
No, that was actually when I was living in North Hollywood. So we were like Universal City area.
Oh my gosh. Did he still have the man bun when he was
man bun. But like by then, because so I shot To Catch a Predator at this like similar timing within a month of me filming a movie called The Seven. It was like a sci-fi chiller network movie. And for that I had to gain weight, cut my hair to like have bangs, dye it black, like all this stuff. So it was not actually my normal look, which I like To Catch a Predator. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's horrible. I would not actually look like that at 18. That wasn't my chosen look, just so you know. So after that was done, I went back to the gym, lost all the weight, grew my hair back, like bangs went away, all of that. So by the time I ran into him, I don't know that he recognized me immediately or that he ever has connected it, except for maybe if he's watched interviews. But like, he looked exactly the same.
Wow. That had to be so surreal. I can't even imagine, like, more than being in the park and realizing, oh, this is the park I did that in. I mean, he's right there.
Yeah, he's right there. And I was like, we got to go now. Time to go. Like, I don't even want to risk him seeing who I am.
Right. No, let's take a peek at some of his footage here real quick.
I mean, he's a millionaire now, so he did good for himself.
Yeah, I think I might be wrong. I don't know all of them off the top of my head, but I would have to imagine he might be the only success story to come out of this.
And it was the weed business. He went, I mean, got to give him credit.
Yeah, he found his niche. And I guess it works out. I mean, there's probably not any children working at the weed plant.
That is true. It seems like a safe option.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe he won't have the weird fantasies anymore.
Oh yeah, hopefully. Yeah, hopefully he just dreams about like stocks and I don't know, whatever, seeds.
He did something right though, so I give him credit.
Well, if I remember correctly too, and I guess we could just watch it. Oh, maybe we don't see it. I thought he pulled up in like a really nice car.
Well, I think that was someone different with the car, the doors that went like straight up.
Yeah.
That car was unforgettable. I was like, holy cow. Like they definitely made that car, like they made it very noteworthy when that car pulled up.
Oh yeah.
That car.
I'm sure the police department probably kept, they seized all of them.
Back in those days, we didn't have cars that did doors like that. I get we see it now more, but like this was like 2006. There were not car doors that did that.
No, yeah, that was definitely a custom job that cost a pretty penny back in those days. And to throw it all away, I thought he did too, but maybe I'm wrong.
Just got to keep myself out of jail, you know.
But in the end, Thin says he wants the girl to perform oral sex on him and that he'll perform other sexual acts on her.
So what do you want to do?
That's a very good question. What's in your drinks?
Now he's inside the house.
This is your hot tub.
Yeah.
This is the hot tub, but I'd like you to sit right over there on that stool for me, please. Right, that one right over there.
Did anything stick out about him during this other than the man bun?
Okay. Funny. The thing that stuck out to me is the fact that Chris's head is the same size of the door frame, and I don't know how he didn't run into it every. I didn't realize how legit the same height of the door frame. Like he has to like duck. I don't think I ever realized that he's literally the size of the door frame. The hair kills me. I can't with the hair. Like the hair. That's all I see is the hair.
I would figure if that man walked into that room, that's all you would be staring at.
He has a very feminine voice for being a man of that age. And I think it made him seem less harmful to me because I don't remember being nervous with him. Like I felt like he seemed like almost harmless. You know what I mean? Being in the room with him.
Yeah, I wonder if that's maybe like a ploy, part of like his grooming.
He was pretty graphic, so I think it probably is.
Yeah.
But he gives off, it helps him. He gives off the vibe of harmless and slightly feminine, and the hair is not cute.
Yeah, I believe I've seen pictures of him semi recently, and I think he's bald now. I think he shaved everything off. So
he's bald?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
That's an extreme change of haircut.
Yeah, I mean, I get maybe like it, he leaves the plant and the hair just smells a lot like weed. So maybe it was just just something to keep him seem a little bit more cleanly. And then we got the fruit punch, which we know is full of salt.
I'm sorry, I didn't talk about the ingredients. The ingredients were essentially just like super watered down, and we throw in some salt instead of sugar, and it didn't taste good. A lot of times, like that one's fruit punch, but there was also Tang.
Okay. Yeah. But no, regardless, very watered down, very salty.
It's very not good tasting. So some of them are good.
Yeah. I believe the one we watched last time, the Can I Rape You Anally guy was chugging it.
And there was no faces. I was like, that man does not care about anything happening right now. He is drinking that drink.
Here tonight?
Just to see her?
Just to see who?
Carly?
And how old is Carly?
13.
13. And how old are you?
23.
You don't see a problem with that?
I do see a problem, yeah.
Then what's the problem you see?
Yeah, even with Chris, he's very soft spoken. And
he's not very innocent little boy like.
Yeah, exactly. And he's not doing the Rick's talented tongue where he's trying to argue with them. He's just kind of being agreeable, talking coherently. I don't know. It's like two different worlds, but obviously they're both on level playing ground as far as the crime goes. But
I mean, to be fair, even with like domestic violence and abuse and stuff like that, like they say, a huge amount of them are narcissists. So to the rest of the world, they come off as super charming, and they would never hurt a fly, and they would never do that, which is why it makes it so like unbelievable when it comes out that they're abusive,
Right. Yeah. And that makes sense with him being kind of like a big business guy too, because they say a lot of CEOs also are narcissists.
Yeah.
Not necessarily, doing crimes, but it helps to kind of have that mentality and like, big business. So yeah, it could just be that he's just such a narcissist that he's trying to play off his best image here.
I mean, I feel like we all have to be to walk into that house and then
Right.
listen to some cats and be like, it's cool. I'm cool. It's fine.
All right. Well, we'll start wrapping this up here shortly. Let me play one more of these and find maybe one or two more questions here. I forget why I picked this one, but we'll play this one here real quick.
There are so many suspects coming to the undercover house that police have to adjust their strategy. See with these next visitors. All right, this is our 8 o'clock. Meet Josiah Walker, who drove that Cobra Mustang from San Diego. The 27-year-old who serves pizza at Costco uses the screen name Hot 95 Cobra Guy. He chatted online with a woman who said she was a 13-year-old girl. Walker asks if she's a virgin, tried oral sex, anal sex, what sexual position she likes, and he wants to know if she would try group sex.
How would you feel about watching a guy and a girl do it, or being watched by a girl?
And he appears to know that it would be illegal to have sex with a 13-year-old, and he writes,
You're young, and I don't want to get in trouble.
but here he is, and he can't wait to get into our undercover house.
How you doing? Good. How are you? Good. Want me to park in the garage? Oh no big deal at all. How was your drive? Good. How are you? Good. What are you doing?
Oh, there's a hug.
Yep, that's why. Now I remember why I picked him.
It was a hardcore hug.
Yeah, he went right in for it, and he didn't seem. I mean, he was very kind of nervous and dorky and kind of
He was
dweeby.
so dorky.
Yeah, but he went right
He's so
for it.
tall too. He had to bend way down.
So I know, like, you had talked in the last part about, the guy went in for the kiss. You got a few hugs. Do you kind of remember what was going through your mind at this moment in particular when he kind of swooped in for you there?
Well, like it was one of those weird moments where you're like, are they going in for a hug, a side hug, a front hug? What kind of hug are we going in for? Like, this is what, because he looks so nervous and like so like weird that I don't think I was expecting him to come in for a hug because it looks so nervous himself. But then he was like all in. So I think I was totally thrown off guard. I didn't expect it watching it. It's been a while, obviously, but I mean, even if you just watch the way he runs, he's very,
Yeah.
and he came a really long way. So he obviously had not good intentions.
Right. No, absolutely. You might not be able to remember the order, so no worries. But do you remember when the first predator to make contact with you? Was it like a hug? Was it this handshake? Do you remember any of that by chance?
I don't remember who was the first to hug me because it happened so many times and I was driving them insane. And I don't know why they wanted to work with me again because I like almost gave Frag an aneurysm. He had to yell so often. I think I was probably the most yelled at decoy. I think I could win that award. Definitely the most decoy. Frag was like dying. Like every time he's like, dear God, do not let them get that close.
Yeah. So when the first one happened, I guess your thought process wasn't immediately like, "Oh my God, they're hugging me." It's like, "Okay, we're getting the shot, right?" And
oh, it's like cool. We're gonna get the right. It's cool. I'm not thinking he's gonna like knife me in the back or something. I'm like, surely Chris Hansen will pop out before I die. It's fine.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. All right, I got another question here lined up for you. And I think we might have covered this in the first part, but we'll ask it again here. Have you ever met any of the other decoys? If so, did you ever talk shop about the other stings?
Well, I worked with Dan. So
yeah.
definitely. And I had Dan on Facebook for a while, but after the Murphy, Texas thing, I think he really like kind of backed away from social media and life, like To Catch a Predator life sort of thing. I think really the first thing he's really done to catch predator wise since is the documentary. And I'm like super proud of him for that because I know that was hard because he went through, I was supposed to be in Murphy, Texas with him. So it makes it that much like harder to see what he went through being in Murphy, Texas when that happened. But Dan, I was connected to for a while. And then I connected with Casey. We've talked on Facebook a little bit. She's kind of backed off like as much of the To Catch a Predator stuff, but she was all in for multiple years, like with the Reddit fans and like posting videos and stuff. And then she's kind of backed off of that. Now I'm taking more of like having a voice again after a few years off. You know, we all go back and forth in and out of like being in and then taking a break, you know?
Yeah. This is just a random question that popped in my head, but if you could go back, would you do it again?
Oh, 1000%. I want to do it again tomorrow. Like, I'm all in. I want to do it again. Like, and it's not for television, just in general. Like, I was supposed to be a part of multiple other states and was super upset at how that ended. So yeah, would I do it again? Completely. I would do it again tomorrow if given an offer. And even Chris and I have talked and stuff. Like I would do it again.
Yeah, I was gonna suggest like they should get you on a takedown. It would probably still work.
So Chris uses like actual police officers
Yeah.
as decoys now. But we've talked about future work. So we'll see where that takes us in the future, you know. But I would love to do it. I couldn't do it like super locally though, because everybody knows me as a photographer. Like
Right.
everybody knows me as the photographer. So I would have to do it like in the next big city or, you know, that sort of thing.
Yeah, no, that would be fun though. I'd like to see that. All right, I think we'll kind of wrap it up here. I do have another clip, but it's just honestly, it's nothing that exciting. It's just the
house will
the
still
15-year-old. Yeah. And I kind of touched base with you on this in the first part, but I guess we'll kind of let it play out a little bit. But this to me is one of the weirdest situations.
I still don't understand the situation that happened fully, honestly.
Did you, I mean, obviously he's blurred and good. He's underage. He's not doing anything wrong here. But when he came in, did you kind of realize right away, like, this guy looks young. I don't think this is right.
Yeah, I was confused. I was like, is this who we've been talking to? Because there's no way he looks like he's like over age, you know? Like, I'm
Right.
like, this seems weird. But, you know, I was like, it's my job. I guess we'll figure it out later. They're going to tell me what's going on. Because, I mean, multiple random things that happened. Like the earpiece fell out and one of them heard. And, you know, they sent me to the door and it was for Dan. Like multiple random situations happened that we weren't ready for. So I kind of just went with it and rolled with it by this point, you know?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And
This
it doesn't
man
seem
moved
like I'm
for
trying to
Rick to
skip
show
ahead here
Dani
a
the
little bit. This is
decoy
who
who said-
they were talking to. Very cool looking guy, I guess. I don't
It
know.
was like the uncle or something sent them. That was their uncle. It was something.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think they're like cousins or nephews. They're definitely related to him, I believe.
That makes you a crappy uncle, though. I'm just saying.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. And I don't even know what his plan here. I mean, I don't know that I want to know what his plan was here, but there's three of them, you know, and
Yeah.
they send in one, but the other two are waiting. So the 15-year-old goes in, and I guess he's going to give them the all clear, and then God knows what the plan was from there with all three of
Honestly,
them.
like in this day and age, in 2025, they would call that trafficking.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I don't know. Like whenever something like that happens locally, everybody's like, it's a trafficking situation. So I don't know. Maybe there was like more trafficking than what we knew about back then, and maybe that was a thing.
Yeah. Oh, it definitely could have been. You know, they could have maybe planned on, you know, taking her. Who knows?
It does kind of scream like an interesting potential trafficking situation.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. I just don't know what his
That
thoughts were. And
I really never thought about it, and now like looking at it, I'm like, oh, that could have been a really bad situation too.
yeah, and I wonder, you know, what the law. I mean, he's bringing a minor to commit a crime for him, so he's adding another layer on top of that of, you know, because they throw out the crime like corruption of a minor.
Yeah.
Quite a bit when they send like the you know, pornography and all that, or bring alcohol.
Chris said that unfortunately the Long Beach sting was like, it was funny. It was one of the most successful stings as far as how many we caught, but essentially the judge slapped everybody on the wrist.
Yeah, I believe the judge called them poor guys.
Mhm.
And yeah, that was such a yeah, there's a lot of, you mentioned controversies earlier, and you know, there's some towards Chris, some towards the show, but there's a lot of controversies I think that went towards local law enforcement throughout this show too, because you kind of see how certain counties or communities handle this stuff, and Long Beach was definitely very soft. I believe they called it the Long Beach Special, which a lot of them got like,
what Chris was saying.
yeah, they got like, it was like probation, mostly like 3 months probation, something like that. And no,
Reading that and thinking, gosh, do they do this everywhere? Because I feel like probation is like nothing.
yeah, definitely. I mean, and in Long Beach,
probation. Like,
yeah, a lot of them didn't even have to register as RSOs.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
insane. It's insane. And then you have other stings where they completely threw the book at some of these guys, and they did, you know, 12 years behind bars or significant amounts of time. So it just really depended, the jurisdiction and the
Well,
county they did it in.
I hope that Long Beach judge feels great about the fact that he let the subway guy go and then he went and committed more crimes.
Yep. Yeah.
Not happening if he had actually gotten, a real charge.
No, exactly. 100%. And I think I would hope that laws have changed quite a bit since this aired. It's been almost 20 years since this.
Yeah,
So
it's such politics, that's the
yeah.
hard part.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you have, obviously like Murphy, there's people involved in politics who may also be involved in some of these activities. And it becomes a very murky and cloudy water there. But yeah, I never really did think about that. How
is that really his name?
Maruf, yeah, Maruf for rock, I think. Yeah.
Maruf Farouk.
Oh yeah, and I assume always when the towel's on, you're supposed to be
I
blonde.
was supposed to be redhead. I think that was a redhead.
Are you sure? All right. Well, I was thinking I'm gonna go call a couple friends since you have a couple friends, and I could just get a couple people in here. What do you think?
Hey, how you doing? You have a seat right over there on that stool right there. Are those your friends outside?
We quickly realize that the young man, who we learn is just 15, doesn't seem to know what's going on.
Did you bring condoms tonight?
No, I'm not coming for the sex. I'm just coming for the meet, like friend. I have a girlfriend already.
He tells us that it was that man outside, Farouk, whose idea.
Yeah, and they're just like pacing the house. It's
That's freaky.
And you weren't aware of any of this at the
No,
time.
I had no idea what was going on outside the house or the other people. I mean, I'm sure they told me at the time, but it was like the longest 3 days ever. We were on
sure.
like 16-hour days sort of situation, but like it's kind of sad. Like the one they sent in was this cute little boy. Like no idea what's going on. And I give it to myself that I had no idea. I threw out such good lines like, oh, since you have some friends, I'll bring some. I don't even remember. At that point, I was probably delirious just saying things, and it just worked.
Yeah, well, you mentioned too, and that's a great thing. I don't know if we really talked about, but what were the days like? You said like 16-hour days.
16 hours or so where we were in the house and like just long days. And they were fine. So I had no complaints, but it was exhausting. And then we go back and get our limo back to our hotel.
So you're getting there like what, like 9 a.m., 10 a.m.?
No, 9 a.m. It was more like 5, 6 a.m., which is not an hour that I like at all. Anybody should ever be awake for. Ever. Horrible. I can't work a 9 to 5 job. I'm like, gosh, who has to wake up at 5 a.m.? That's terrible.
Oh my God. No, I agree. I'm not a morning person.
But super early sometimes. I can't go to sleep before 2 a.m. I have to drug myself in order to sleep.
Well, that might have been, I mean, were you always like that? Did that come in handy when it was 1 a.m. you're waiting for a predator to show up and you're just...
No, I've always been a night owl, so that part wasn't hard. It's the 5 a.m., 6 a.m. time. I might as well just stay up the whole night because I'm almost there.
Oh man. All right. Well, I think that's all I got. Let me make sure I asked all the questions here. I'm sure I missed some, and I do apologize. Some of the questions I gathered we kind of already answered. How nervous was the decoy? Did she get satisfaction? I think you've answered that, but if you want to elaborate a little bit further, feel free.
I sleep well at night. No, I really don't. I'm not a good sleeper, but it's not because it was the decoy on To Catch a Predator. But no, did I get satisfaction? I don't know. I didn't really feel like I did anything. To be fair, I feel like I'm getting a lot of credit for something I didn't do. A lot of the work was Perverted Justice and the police and Chris Hansen, and I was just the character and the voice. And sure, we put ourselves in danger. I'm not sure I allowed my brain to really think about it that way per se, but I don't know that I felt satisfaction or that I even feel like we deserve any fame for what we did because we were just in it. You know what I mean? There was a lot of people doing a lot more work.
I see. I definitely understand that point of view, but I would definitely argue that the decoys added an element to the show. You know, especially people who didn't know that this was happening. They got to see what these predators might actually do in some of these situations, and a lot of times the predators got them to say, you know, what they want to do in these situations. And if you watch like the first, you know, 2 stings of To Catch a Predator before there were decoys, before there was police interaction, most of the predators don't even come in the front door. They'll walk in for a second, they'll see Chris Hansen, and they'll sprint down the street. And you never get an interview, you never get to see, you know, who these people are. And yeah, they're getting exposed, they're getting arrested, but I think especially early on in To Catch a Predator, it was a lot about education and educating yourself on what these people look like, that they can be anybody, how they're going to react around, you know, their potential victims. And you know, without the decoys work, you don't get any of that. So I definitely think that the decoys definitely deserve their flowers when it comes to Catch a Predator.
Well, I definitely think that like perverted justice, oh my goodness, deserves so much more credit than what they got throughout,
sure.
you know, in general. Like, and Chris Hansen does his own crazy set of work too. But I will say some of these like knockoff nonsense stuff infuriates me to like no end. Like in the documentary, there was a Skeet Hansen guy and his Decoy, as she calls herself, and I nearly like fell on the floor and lost it and couldn't watch anymore. I was like, she's like 50, her boobs are out to here. You don't obviously look like you're 12. Are you kidding? Like, I still have a prepubescent body. She's over here, her boobs are covering her face, and she's like literally 50 years old. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding. Like, they're doing this. Why are they doing this? At least do it right. Like, impersonating cops and stuff. I'm like, y'all need to stop. Like, let Chris Hansen just keep doing what he's doing. He's doing it right.
No, I agree. I've been asked that too, about how I feel about the, you know, YouTube vigilante predator catchers. And, you know, I'll always say the blanket statement, it's good that these people are still getting exposed. I'll always, you know, be happy that that's happening.
Know that they're getting the right people either, or how they're doing it is right. You know what I mean? Like, we don't know that they're doing it the right way, that it's even legal.
Right. No, and that's where I don't like them. And there was a channel I watched years ago, and I don't think they're around anymore. I won't say their names, but they confronted somebody in a Walmart, and the guy had a gun, and it ended up going off. The guy pulled it. The 2 predator, you know, quote unquote predator catchers, obviously felt they were in danger, so tried to tackle the guy so they wouldn't get shot, which you know, whatever. But in that commotion, the gun got fired. Somebody did get shot. It was, you know, one of the quote unquote predator catchers. But my argument is always going to be that gun was fired in a public space. That never should have happened. Somebody could have seriously got hurt, killed, you know, that had nothing to do with this. And that's where I kind of get upset, because a lot of these people are doing these catches in public.
In like hotels and random stuff, and it is such nonsense. I'm telling you, get me in a boxing ring with Decoy. Like killing me. Like I don't know. And it's not to be mean. She clearly has her own set of, I feel like, mental health issues that she needs to deal with. I have my own. I'm not putting them down at all. Like, I'm telling you, I got my own trauma. I need therapists too. But you gotta like do it right, and it's just like a nonsense joke. Like,
yeah, no, absolutely.
Impersonating a cop, which is illegal, and then Skeet Hansen, who's this big black guy that's acting like he's a cop or someone real or something, and then you got her with the big boobs that looks like she's 50 being Decoy, and it's just like some nonsense, and you're like, this guy's sitting here saying he wants to kill himself. It was horrible. It was horrible to watch. And I'm like, I can't with these people. They need to stop. Like, they're just making a mockery out of it.
Yeah, no, I agree wholeheartedly. I've always been on very iffy on a lot of that stuff, because you know, Chris does it right. He works with the police. It's all controlled.
Law enforcement. You can't just. They were literally up there calling law enforcement, like, "Hey, we've got this guy. Can you come?" And I'm like, "This is a joke. This has to be a joke." Like, oh my gosh, this guy had a fake badge. and he had a fake that it was just nuts. Not I don't want to get confused by saying it, but it just horrible.
No, I think a lot of people feel very similarly to how you feel on that. So no worries there. All right. Yeah, that's basically
She's gonna come out to get you and me in the comments. She mentioned me. But no, my feelings. You really need to use a real decoy and like real cops and know what you're doing. This is nonsense.
No, my argument's always going to be that like public safety is number one, and we need to keep innocent bystanders, people that are working in these public businesses. They do them in parks sometimes, and I'll stop rambling about this, I promise. But they'll do it in parks where people are playing, where children are, and it's like, why? You're kind of missing the point here. But
they're putting them around children. That's kind of dumb.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, on a brighter note, I do appreciate your time, Dani. Thank you so much for doing this with me again. I know we plugged your YouTube channel and the Reddit and the Predators documentary. Anything else?
Never gonna happen. I'm never gonna have a Reddit username that doesn't give me.
All right, that's the goal of anybody who sees this video. If you know who runs, help Dani. Reach out to those Reddit mods, and we're gonna get Dani an AMA on Reddit here sooner than later. We'll obviously advertise that, but we'll make it happen. That's my next goal for you. Anything else you want to say, Dani?
Oh, I'm good. That was amazing.
Yeah, thank you so much. You have a good.
Something different.
Yeah.